Welcome to the Oxsports Unleashed podcast review of Oxfordshire football over the weekend of the 18th and 19th of October. I'm Colin Ryde, and it's time to welcome my guest, Patrick Lock, and contrasting fortunes last weekend for the yellow and blue sides of our City of Dreaming Spires. Patrick?
Yeah, and it started so well with the early kickoff, didn't it? Oxford United picking up their first win, first home win of the season. They beat Derby County 1-0 thanks to a Stan Mills goal. But yeah, the 12:30 kickoff's about as good as it got in the city on Saturday.
But Oxford City, they've fallen really into the relegation zone. And from what I could hear of the commentary, it was not the best game at all to watch, including the result.
Yeah, we were building it up last week, weren't we, this weekend, that it was a huge game for City, playing bottom of the league and City in the relegation zone themselves. It's the kind of game you look at and you think you've got to get 3 points from. At least a bit of impartiality that Southport would be looking at that fixture and thinking exactly the same as City in the bottom three. Yes, it was not a good day in the office for Ross Jenkins' men after a really positive performance against Chorley the week before as well, where probably a bit unlucky to not get all 3 points. Unfortunately, City didn't really get going, and wouldn't say particularly Southport were a much better footballing side than City, but I think the critical things that Southport had was hunger and energy over City, and City just didn't really seem to know what they were doing at times, and there probably a bit of lack of communication and lack of energy. And unfortunately, it was 2 goals either side of half time, so it was quite quick after around the half time interval, which was a big hammer blow for City. Josh Parker did get a goal back with 10 minutes to go, so there was perhaps hope of an unlikely point. But if we're brutally honest, if City had got a point out of it, it would have probably been a bit harsh on Southport, who deserved the win on the day.
Yeah, I think we could hear from Josh Ashby talking to Andy Gates after the game. And as you can hear, Josh Ashby doesn't sound very happy, and neither does Andy Gates.
First half, we killed ourselves really. Very poor start, not up to our standards at all, and a real bad time to concede as well. I think it's 43rd minute, and even looking around at 40 minutes, you think get to half time 0-0. Can't really do much worse than that. And then turned it around second half. I thought we played really well. I thought it was probably one of the better halves this season. Created a lot of chances, but really foul for us. And on another day, we scored 2 or 3, but it's disappointing.
Perhaps a case of damage was done. Obviously, the first goal is an error, but there's probably a case to say if you go in at 0-0, it's the same message, because it was just never really got going until the second half. And after Chorley the previous Saturday, what do you kind of put that down to?
I'm not sure really, because we had a good week training. Spirits are high considering how the results have been. And like I said, we had a rollicking at half time, and it was a good reaction second half. And if it was 0-0 at half time, then maybe we would have won the game or got a positive result. But that weren't the case today. It's important. Well, it's lucky for us we got a game in three days' time, so we'll look better right there.
Is that the kind of player's mind frame now? Just get it out of your minds. Obviously, not totally, because you want to take lessons from today, but you want to just get straight into Bedford on Tuesday.
Yeah, 100%. We want Bedford tomorrow, ideally, but we've got to recover. Look at all the video and the analysis stuff on Monday. See where we can improve, and we will do that, and we'll definitely have a better performance on Tuesday.
It's difficult, isn't it? It's such a downbeat mood at the moment, isn't it, in terms of losing a game of football? But how important is it just to, no matter how poor we were in the first half and how good we are in the second half, just put it down as a defeat and move on? How important is that mentally for the players to just get that out of their heads?
Yeah, obviously we've got a young group, so maybe it's a little bit easier for the older boys to mentally do that as we're maybe a little bit more experienced. But yeah, it's important just to, like I said, learn from it, learn from where we've gone wrong, and then forget about it, train hard Monday and go again Tuesday.
For you personally, you've come close on 2 occasions now, rattling the crossbar with your free kicks. You know, you're coming close to the goal that you probably has been eluding you so far. The goal coming?
Yeah, the one I scored against Westbury was 2 deflections and went in. The ones where you hit really nice and you think they've got a real good chance, the keeper tips onto the bar, I think twice now. So that's football. Keep going, keep trying, and like I said, the goals will come.
Thank you to Andy Gate and Oxford City, as always, for allowing us to use those interviews. I mean, very frustrated figures. I mean, City have got a few games coming up in the coming weeks. We've got 2 games against Bedford and against Leamington as well. So they're teams that are in and around the area that City are in the table. So some big weeks coming up, really, and City really do need to start picking up some points at this stage of the season. And early look at the table suggests that if City can get 2 or 3 wins in quick succession, then all of a sudden be back in the mid-table battle. So who knows? Hopefully City could pick up some points in the coming weeks.
Yeah, I do like Andy Gates' comment in the first half commentary. He said that both keepers had so little to do, they were spectators for most of the game and should have been asked to pay for admission to the game. But I don't think anybody would want to pay for that, from what I could hear. So, OK, Banbury United knocked out of the FA Cup midweek by St Albans and back down to league action with a bump at the weekend, Patrick.
Yeah, and it's always a thing when you're in FA Cup action, and particularly replays, that you worry about getting extra time on Tuesday nights and then being knackered for your league game the following Saturday. And I think, unfortunately, that's what happened to Banbury this week. They were defeated 3-0 at home to Hales Owen Town. All 3 goals for Hales Owen came in the first half, so they grabbed a hold of the game and, sadly for Banbury, never let off. We can hear from manager Kelvin Landmeek. He spoke to Puritan's Radio and Dave England after the game.
We made the changes for the right reasons. You know, it had been an incredibly tough couple of games against St Albans. We needed to freshen up, some forced, some not, but it made us disjointed. Lads that came in, and this isn't calling anybody out because I'd never do that, but there were players out there that hadn't played in quite some time that needed a game, that were off it. There were lads out there that have played all the games that were tired, and look, it didn't work. And I'll take some responsibility of that, of course, because I picked the team, and the players will as well, because some of them know it wasn't good enough. And it just didn't work, and it was a long afternoon. We didn't get much right. So we'll look at it, we'll assess it. We've got decisions to make for Tuesday. But yeah, a difficult end to what was, on the most part, a really good week in terms of us acquitting ourselves really, really well, pushing a good side all the way. But it kind of, it just didn't work for us today.
How much was it at half-time then, a case of damage limitation with the game at 3-0?
Yeah, there was absolutely part of it. I've played in games like this before after, you exert yourself to the way that the lads did on Tuesday night, and sometimes you bounce into it and you win 5-0, or you end up with a little bit what happened today. So there was absolute that. Be solid. This doesn't become a 4, 5, 6 game. Obviously, we had more with the ball. We were better on the ball, but we never created anything. We were poor at times. We didn't win enough second balls. I say to them all the time about winning the fight, and we didn't win that. And then it's easier for Hales Owen to sort of sit behind the ball at 3-0. They don't have to really go after the game. We huffed and puffed, but it wasn't good enough on all fronts today. And we'll take our medicine. I'll take my medicine on that. But again, as I always say, we'll dust ourselves off because we've got another one on Tuesday.
I don't think anybody would have been surprised, Calvin, that you did look to make changes today, and you brought in Chris Warray, maybe a new face just to freshen it up. Because as much as anything, after a game like Tuesday night, when you come out on the wrong side of a game like that, how much of it, though it's physical, how much of it then becomes a psychological thing that players just need a little bit of lifting?
Yeah, like I said the other night, it's mental, physical, emotional. You drain from it, absolutely. And I'll give them a little bit on that, because there were tired legs out there, tired minds out there, and the lads that came in, some of them haven't played or started a game for quite some time, and they struggled. So it was probably a combination of both of it, of all of it. And then you end up with that kind of performance, and it became a bit hopeful. We've been really good for the most part of this season. I look at all the results, and we've probably had 3 games out of the 16 this season so far where it's been a bit like that, Bromsgrove and Rail Bedford. But I'm going to take St Albans out of it, and even Sudbury away. We were down to 10 men, the lads gave everything, but there are ways to lose games, and this one hurts a lot because it was just not good enough across the board. We are so much better than that. But the combination probably of Tuesday night's tired legs, fresh legs coming in who maybe hadn't played much football, didn't go well for us today. So I picked the team. I'll accept that responsibility. But with football, there's always a game around the corner. So we can't dwell because we've got a huge game on Tuesday.
Are there any positives you can take from it? Because you got Alex Prosser a start there and he got the best part of an hour under his belt. Would that be a positive you look to take? Yeah, of course.
Absolutely. Look, it's been a long old road for him and it's tough being injured, so it's fantastic to see him out there. There's other lads that have been, Nico as well, hadn't played a game in quite some time. So, look, there are positives within it. It's difficult to find those or focus on those right now because I'm hurting. That was a tough afternoon for everyone. But like I say, we'll watch the game back and we will find elements within it that are positive, and it might be simple things like just having Alex Prosser back on the pitch, getting an hour in his legs. That will bode him well and us well as a group going forwards. Same for all the other lads. Chris Ray the same, hasn't had much football over the last few months, so to get an hour and 70 minutes or whatever it was into him is really important. Also really important that there were players that got a little bit of a rest that needed it. But the result, obviously, is what we're all here for, and we didn't get close to getting a decent one today.
You've got another game coming up as well in just under 72 hours' time against a side who equally had a poor result today. But for yourselves, what's the feeling like in that dressing room? And is it a good thing that you've got a game coming up on Tuesday rather than a week to maybe ruminate on this game a little bit?
Yeah, look, absolutely. You want another game to try and put it right. And look, we had, obviously I'm out here a little bit later because we sat and we talked it out. There was no cups of teas being thrown or anything like that. It was, let's talk it out. What can we do better? What can we as staff do better? What can we give you more of? What can we demand more of the players of? And the players talk amongst themselves. That, like I say, doesn't change my feelings about them. They're still a great group to work with, and I love being around them. That doesn't change. This is part of sport. This is part of football. So we discussed it. We'll talk about it. We as staff will obviously look to add what we can to help them. I need a little bit more from some of them. Absolutely, that's the nature of football. But I'll ask myself the same question as well.
And I suppose in the greater scheme of things, in your managerial career as it goes forward, you're probably going to learn more about yourself from matches like this, aren't you, and the reaction afterwards? Yeah,
absolutely. Of course you do. It's in the tough moments you find out what you're made of, doesn't it? So that's the same. I was like that as a player. I'll be like that as a manager. I'm like that outside of football as well. But hindsight, isn't it? We made the decisions before the game for the right reasons. We've got something like 13 games in 6 weeks. We've got Saturday, Mondays coming up. We've got Sundays. We've got Saturday, Tuesday. We've got a crazy schedule. We need to use the squad. We needed to get lads minutes. We needed to rest lads, but it didn't work, So obviously it changes your mindset a little bit going into Tuesday of what we might need to do because we need to go and get a result.
So there we are, a very honest Kelvin Lagme there in his first term in the dugout as a manager. And as I say, I like the comment there from saying, do you learn more from defeats in this situation? And he said that absolutely yes, I think so. I've got to learn to live with it and move on. Moving on to Didcot Town. They were on the road at the weekend and then some, Patrick. I've done a bit of my research here. They made the way to Falmouth Town, 250 miles each way, 9 or 10 hours total there and back, as it were, travelling back 4 or 5 hours, I suspect, because they needed probably more than one lose stop, celebrating because they came back with a great result, didn't they, Patrick?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Bit of space for 3 points on that bus as well, I think, needed. So, really good result for them. They picked up some form in recent weeks after a really tough start to the season. They were defeated last weekend, but that was only a one-off, and they returned to winning ways on Saturday. It was a late show for them. It was 20 minutes to go before they opened the scoring. Felix Robertson scored that goal. And then Owen James, he kept up his fine goal-scoring form as well. He made it 2-0 with 5 minutes to go. So a really good win for them there. And more importantly, a win that pulls them out of the relegation zone. So, really good win for Jamie Heapy's men. As you can imagine, Jamie Heapy was delighted with his side's performance, and he said it deserved 3 points. We can hear what he said to Daz King through the Didcot Town media team after the game.
Good performance, good away performance, clean sheet. They just give me everything, don't they? They give me everything. I thought we deserved it. Yeah. To be fair, I thought we deserved it. First half, we probably edged it. Got a couple of cautions which were harsh on the pitch from Jim and Luke, but Luke, brilliant. Well done, I'm place to come here.
Yeah, especially after what they've done midweek.
Yeah, beat Exmouth, didn't they? But you've got to just. We knew it was going to be hard. They don't need many games there. It's a tough place to come. We travel in and all that, but I couldn't fault the boys, to be fair, today. Couldn't fault. We looked a threat going forward. We defended properly. Our decision making was better. We were at it. Right from the first whistle, I had a good feeling. I said to the boys on the bench, "We're at it today." I got a feeling like this. We put a shift in. Like,
I mean, that was
we
it
looked
first,
fit,
yeah.
strong.
First half, I
Yeah.
thought we edged the
Yeah,
half.
I
We
do.
out-created.
Yeah, we had a couple of blocks and shots, didn't we? A couple of corners, but I thought we had the majority. Finn made a great save first half.
Yeah. Loach was right.
Loach was right. Yeah. That was the only really sort of shot they had.
And he's done enough. First minute and second.
Yeah. But credit to him, he's come in and he's been with us a long time and he's waiting for his chance and clean sheet here. And it's a big ask of him. And I have belief in him and he's well at it.
I would say
so. Is his
he
dad. Yeah, I know. Yeah, but it's brilliant, mate. And local lad, and it's like I said, it's tough here. It's tough here, and they got some good players, but we put a performance that I know we've shown that, especially at Sharp in the second half and here. So that's all not made up for it, but it's a good win, good 3 points, and just sets up nicely to the next.
I mean, I was stood with their fans and they were like, "How are you where you are?" And I said,
Yeah.
It's just not clicked in the last 2 or 3 weeks. It's clicked.
Yeah, we haven't started great, have we, this season? Apart from another game, but we haven't really started the league season well. And we just sort of, last few weeks, you see us, we've changed a little bit. Our mentality's changed. We've got people in the right areas of the pitch, and I've had a full squad to pick from really for the last 2 or 3 games, so that's helped. But no, I'm pleased, man. I'm pleased for the players because they, coming down after work last night and then staying here, and then we've got to travel back now. We've made it worthwhile. It's been a good journey. So it's
a lot better drive home
than last year in the snow, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Snow.
Yeah.
God knows what, all sorts last year. But
I mean, you talk about the team. How we 5 and 5 now.
yeah, brilliant, mate. Brilliant.
He's
handful.
Everything about
He's
it.
handful now. It don't matter whether we've got 2 round him or 3 round him. They know they're busy again.
Yeah.
And he's getting his rewards now. And 5 and 5 is brilliant for him. But that's what I keep saying to him. Keep scoring goals. It's great habit, isn't it? Keep winning games.
And there's a forward.
That's what you want to do.
You get that fit. You notice the difference.
But he's there or thereabouts, isn't he? He's there, and then that little goal, the keeper parried it in his box header. Thank you very much. Tiger's brilliant. He's handful. We just work. We look a proper team at the moment. We're big, strong, we're men. But one game don't make.
No, we've just got to carry it on.
Keep going. We're enjoying this though. Enjoying this, and we go again next
They
week.
sound like they play better football than they sing.
Some of the music's a bit questionable, but hey, it's a modern era, isn't it?
So there we are, Jamie Heapy enjoying a win away from home. Quite an achievement, really, after spending all that time on the bus. It can't be good for athletes to sit on the bus for all that time and then have to play a game of football. Thanks again to the Didcot Town media team for those interviews. Right, contrasting emotions, I'm sure, across the county for Tame United managers Ben William, because they are having a bit of an up and down season so far, Patrick, and not good a result at the weekend for them either.
As I said last week, they've kind of followed Didcot's form the start of the season. They had a really, really tough start to the year. They'd lost their first 3 or 4 games, but things had picked up for them, and they'd won 4 in a row before this weekend. But they did meet a tough opposition in Hitchin Town on Saturday. Hitchin, who are in the playoff positions, and sadly, Hitchin won 4-0 at the ASM Stadium. So I wouldn't say quite back down to earth of a bump at this stage, because it was a tough opponent, and actually after their recent form, they've found themselves in mid-table, so still looking good for them, and sure they'll bounce back again in the coming weeks.
You're listening to an Oxford Unleashed podcast review of last weekend's football action in Oxfordshire with Colin Ryde and Patrick Lock. If you'd like your club to feature in this podcast or our YouTube show that live streams every Thursday at 8, then drop us a line at oxsportsunleashed. That's all one word, oxsportsunleashed@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. We've got some good results for Northley, Killington, and the other teams in the rest of the football pyramid, including how our ladies got on at the weekend. Patrick Lock.
Yeah, we'll start with Northley. So the first thing you mentioned, and they got a really impressive win on Saturday. They beat Edgware and Kingsbury 5-1 at Inchin Park. It was 2-0 at half-time to Northley. Victor Hernandez and Jack Hobbs scored before Sam Olawale scored twice and Bakumi Maxwell scored a fifth in the 90th minute. So, they scored a big win there. Northlee's fourth for the season, and they're comfortably mid-table now. So looking a more strong season for Northleigh after a very difficult couple of years for them. It was actually only 2 league games in the combined counties this weekend, and it was Milton United, the other side who played a league match. They hosted Amersham Town, and they beat them 3-2 at home. It was 2 Louis Joyce goals, including his 100 for the club. So, really good tally for him there. And Tyler Webb goal score saw Milton to victory there. The reason there was only 2 league games is because the other sides were in FA Vars action this weekend. Kidlington safely booked their place in the next round. They had a 3-0 success against Chelmsley Town. An own goal and then strikes from Michael Hopkins and Aidan Ulas helped Kidlington to a comfortable win and book their place in the next round. Ardley United were beaten, however, on spot kicks. They drew 1-1 with Northampton 0-1 Chenecks. Drama, though, because Ardley were 1-0 down until the 95th minute and John Dennis scored to take it to penalties. However, the side, and I probably should say it's an A43 derby, Ardley to Northampton there, but the side from down the other end of the A43 sadly won a 3-1 from spot kicks. So Ardley going out in dramatic fashion there. Easington Sports, they're in different form continues. They went out to show a Colliery 3-0. Scoreline perhaps a little bit harsh, looking on them, considering that 2 of the goals came in second half stoppage time. So presumably that's because Easington were pushing for a late leveller. So it's probably a tighter game there. But sadly, Easington, their FA Vars campaign has ended this year's season. A quick look at Hellenic Division 1 results. Carterton's good form continued. They beat Wellington 2-1. Clanfield, they've had a very tough start to the season, but they picked up an important win. They beat Ulster Town 3-2 at Radcott Road. Their goals came in the first half. Tyreek Hunt scored twice, while Gerald Muchiteri scored the other to see them to victory there. Wantage Town were 5-2 winners in the same division. Callum Crook and Josh Davies both scored twice, with Frederick Morlock getting the other in a big win there. Otherwise, it was just an Oxfordshire Intermediate Cup game for Tame United reserves. They won 11-0 against Henley Town Development. So a big win for them there. That's just a week after they conceded double figures. So, goals going in at both ends for Tame. And I think you'd have to say that I think they're +1 goal difference after those. So
Great stuff.
one way of looking at it, I guess, yeah. So we'll have a quick look at Sunday's fixtures, and there wasn't actually much in the end because Oxford City's County Cup game against Tower Hill was cancelled, so they were not in action. But they do go through to the next round. They get a home walkover for that. Abingdon United didn't have a fixture either, so it was just Oxford United women in action, and Emma Thompson scored a hat-trick to help them ease past Chelsea Academy 4-0 in the Women's National League Cup. So that's what's happened this weekend, Colin.
Thank you very much indeed, Patrick Locke. Right, it's time now for fixture focus. Patrick, tell us what local football fans have got to look forward to this coming weekend.
Yeah, so a big game for Oxford United is it's a trip to basement side Sheffield Wednesday, 3 p.m. kickoff at Hillsborough. Oxford City, obviously, as you mentioned in the show before, it's a big run of games for them coming up. They're at home again. It's probably the closest thing that you call to a local rivalry for City in the National League North. They host Leamington at 3 p.m. at Court Place Farm. Banbury United, they're back in cup action after 1 week off. They head to Bracknell Town in the FA Trophy first round. Didcot Town, after a couple of decent journeys in the last 2 weeks, are back at home this weekend. They host Bideford, looking to keep up their decent run of form. While Tame United will be looking to get back to winning ways as they head to Biggleswade Town. On Sunday, though, is a really, really big game, big day of football for our women's sides. It's all in women's FA Cup action. Oxford City, it's their first FA Cup first round tie for 15 years. They host Shaftesbury at Court Place Farm. Later in the show, we'll hear if there'll be a feature on that as I catch up with manager Leon Theopharos. Elsewhere, though, Oxford United travel to #United in their first round tie, while Abingdon United have a trip to Worthing in the same competition. So, really big weekend of football coming up this weekend, Colin.
Well, that's it for this week's Ox Sports Unleashed podcast review of Oxfordshire's football with Colin Ryde and Patrick Locke. If you'd like your club to feature on this podcast or on our YouTube show that live streams every Thursday at 8 o'clock, then drop us a line at oxsportsunleashed@gmail.com. That's oxsportsunleashed, all one word, @gmail.com. Thanks so much for listening, and bye for now.